I hope you enjoy the story. Bob was wiping down the bar top when a pretty young lady came through the door around 3:30. Not pretty young as in age, but pretty and young. She didn't look very happy, but then again, most people coming into a bar at that time doesn't usually look happy, unless you're a regular. She had the look of someone who had never been in a place like this before. The Esquire was a different animal. It was a neighborhood bar without a neighborhood, set in an industrial area of the city. Most of the buildings were abandoned and the businesses hanging on for dear life. He moves over to take her order, throwing his towel over his shoulder. What you have, MS? Jack and Coke. Coming up, and he moves to make the drink. You don't get many, if any, women in the bar at this time of day, unless they are meeting someone or taking a break from the stroll. He notices the lady appears to be about 25 years old, around 5 feet 5 inches tall, medium weight, reddish brown hair, wearing a nice gray business-like pantsuit and wedding ring. She wasn't on the stroll and didn't look like this was the kind of place she would be meeting someone, unless it was for all the wrong reasons. She looked like someone who had something serious on her mind, also. Bob guessed it was going to be that kind of day. Everyone in the bar noticed the new patron. She was hard to miss, being very pretty. Earl looked over to her. How you doing today, young lady? In the way only Earl can introduce himself. He makes people at ease, even in the most uncomfortable situations. I'm in a bar at 15 minutes to 4 on a Thursday, drinking whiskey and Coke. How can I be doing any better? So what brings you in here? Life can't be all that bad, if I may be so forward. Earl says with a smile. You're awful nosy for a stranger. The lady says with some heat, and turning away. I'm sorry if I offended you. I just know someone of your caliber coming into a bar at this time of day is doing so to get away from something. And sometimes it's good to talk to someone to get it out. A stranger might be that person. He says with sincerity, there's nothing I need to talk about it. And if I did, it's none of your business. You're right, miss. I apologize. Bob, her next drink is on me, okay? Again, I sincerely apologize. You just looked a little troubled is all. Earl says respectfully and also turns away. She turned back to Earl. I'm sorry for being rude when you were only showing concern. It's just another mistake of many I've been making lately. Earl could see the sadness in her eyes. No need to apologize, MS. Earl says with a smile. Juliet, I'm Juliet. Holding out her hand to Earl. Earl moves over a couple of stools, taking her hand. I'm Earl. Nice to meet you, Juliet. You said you've been making mistakes. It can't be that bad. I cheated on my husband, taking the last chug of the Jack and Coke. Earl motions to Bob for a refill of her drink and replaces Miller High Life. Oh, sweetheart, I'm not going to judge you. That's not my place. You don't sound like it was an ongoing thing. If it was, you wouldn't be in here and so upset about it. Hearing her confession took Earl back 15 years ago to his previous life. It didn't happen often anymore, but it did this time. He was working at an investment company in New York City. He was doing very well for a guy with only a high school education. It took hard work and dedication to get to where he was. All of his peers had college degrees, but not him. He moved up through being smarter than everyone else and making the right deals when people didn't think it would work. He was bringing in almost $300,000 a year. That would be $600,000 in today's money. Drove a new Mercedes-Benz, same as his wife, except his was white and hers black. They lived in an upscale development just off a golf course on Long Island. Even had a country club membership. The only thing missing to make his life perfect was children.
I was the firm's first and only black person in that role. My brother Wyatt was a clerk on the side of the floor that dealt in stocks. He later became the first black trader on the firm's equity desk. Since I was the first, it practically took an act of God for this firm to hire me. But I had the qualification for the job, so they took a chance on me. For that, they deserve a ton of credit.
Earl was different than his friends growing up. He didn't always live on Long Island. He grew up in Flatbush, Queens. It's never just Flatbush or Queens, it's always Flatbush, Queens. He was a good student without being a nerd. Education came naturally to him. His best classes were math and social studies. Numbers and dealing with people were always his strong points. While his friends were into the growing rap scene, Earl was studying Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, Hetty Green and Philip A. Fisher, famous investors. While kids were reading the Source magazine, he was reading the Wall Street and Forbes magazine. Earl was always a hustler, but an honest hustler. While some of his friends were selling drugs, he did odd jobs around the neighborhood to earn money. Everyone knew Earl and respected his hustle. He was never approached about selling drugs. Word was out, leave Earl alone. He took his first $100 to a small investment firm, Belvedere Funds. He put on his best clothes and walked in and asked to talk to a broker. Charles Walker greeted the young man, wondering what he was there for. When Earl told him he wanted to invest and which companies he wanted, Charles smiled to himself. How can this young black kid know anything about which companies to invest in? He didn't take him very seriously, as he was dressed in jeans, sneakers and a polo shirt with a dragon across the front. But after talking to him for 30 minutes, he realized he knew what he was talking about. That meeting lasted almost 2 hours. He found a young man who listens and absorbed what was being said. He was very even-tempered and slow to provoke. Betting on, because that's what investing really is. New companies called AutoNation and Semtech paid huge returns. He came back once a month to reinvest more money. Companies that most people have never heard of, Biogen, SunOpta, Nixie. Over the years they had returns over 200%. AutoNation did 1,300% itself. He started to get some of the corner boys, drug dealers, to invest some of their ill-gotten gains. At the time he didn't know he was laundering drug money. He thought he was just helping his friends. Luckily for him, it never caused any issues. Charles Walker took a personal interest in this young kid. During the summer he had him intern to learn how things worked. Working alongside other kids who were in college, some Ivy League schools, Earl stood out. Not because he was the only black person working there, but because he was the best of the best. Charles taught him everything he knew, and even things outside the business. How to dress, how to act. Everything he needed to fit into this new world. He eventually became what they call a rainmaker. Someone who makes lots of money. That fateful day, we left work early to tell Georgette the great news. He was going to be named a director. 15 years of hard work had paid off. In his eagerness to tell Georgette the great news, he never noticed the Kelly green Honda Prelude sitting at the curb. Walking into the foyer, he yelled out for his wife, but not getting a response. Walking further into the house, he could hear her in their bedroom. She was making noises she hadn't made in some time. Sexual noises, the kind you make when you're with someone else.